Fun facts. My name is Prachi. The very first camera was invented in 1816 by a French guy called Joseph Nicéphore Niepce, and you're about to watch my February check-in. This is my February check-in. It's gonna be a bit of an emotional ride, I think, just because February was a month. So strap yourselves in. I'm gonna talk a bit about, February in terms of my life, in terms of my makeup no-buy, and in terms of this YouTube channel, because it was also my very first month on YouTube. So let's get it. So February, she was a rough month for me. I sort of alluded to this in my introductory video about my no-buy and why I was going on it, but I started off February in a pretty dark place. I started off 2019 in a pretty dark place. I was in a pretty bad depressive phase. I didn't really like where my life was going, in addition to feeling kind of hopeless and like life wasn't going the way that it should, which that's a whole other conversation. I felt kind of lost, and I forgot why I was going to school, why I was working so hard, why anything that I was doing really mattered for a period. And what happened was, on the very 1st of February, I had made a commitment like a while back to help record a podcast for the Latin American Studies department at my university. And I'd made this commitment to a friend, and because she was a friend, I felt really bad pulling out of that commitment, so I went. And we had like an hour and a half's worth of discussion where I was just talking about migration policies and immigration and international law and human rights and social norms and the language about how we talk about immigrants. And that hour and a half conversation that I had with her, that conversation really kind of like saved my life, if I'm honest. It reminded me why I was studying. It reminded me that although the depression voice in my head was like, you don't know anything, you don't care about anything, you're purposeless and aimless, the reality was I actually do have a wealth of knowledge, and there's a whole bunch of stuff that I care about and I'm passionate about and want to see done well in this world. I'm gonna link the podcast down below. It's not an hour and a half long. Like, we had a very good, fruitful discussion, and that she edited down into something beautiful and coherent. So if you'd like to listen to me talk about the Central American migrant caravan and immigration policies and international law and that kind of stuff, that's linked down below. But after that conversation, it was a bit of a wake-up call, and then I sort of went into hiding for like 2 or 3 days. And I did a lot of reading and a lot of crying and a lot of soul searching, and I talked to a bunch of people, and I emerged with renewed purpose for 2019 and for my life in general. The entire month of February has sort of, for me, been a process of learning and growing and changing, cleaning up messes, starting new things. With regards to my shopping habits, the fact that I had to clean up all of my old messes, recommit to things, and start a new project like a YouTube channel was both a blessing and a curse. Because on the one hand, those things require a lot of time and a lot of energy, which means I just don't really have that much time to waste on shopping and shopping behaviors like window shopping. One of the cons, though, is that it's emotionally very stressful and taxing work. And I talked about how in my no-buy, when I am stressed and feeling poorly about myself, I use shopping to cope. It's much easier for me to spend time and energy thinking about something like, oh, a pretty eyeshadow or perfume that I want to buy, instead of confronting that I was really depressed, and depression is hard to deal with and you have to like claw yourself out of it. I don't use the term clawing myself out of depression lightly, right? Like, the image is that you fall down a really dark hole and it's basically just you down there, and you have to, with the bare strength of your fingernails, like climb your way back up. It's really emotionally difficult, and because of societal stigmas around mental health, there's so much guilt and shame attached to asking for help, to admitting that things went awry because you had a mental health problem, and that guilt and shame is an additional emotional burden that I'm carrying around. And it's just so much easier for me personally to just kind of like pretend like none of that happened and think about the acquisition of pretty beautiful things. And so the struggles of February was really interesting because on the one hand, there was one voice inside my head that was kind of like, I call it like the tantrum baby, right? It didn't want to have to deal with doing really difficult and emotionally taxing things. It much preferred to just waste time shopping and window shopping and thinking about frivolous things that weren't going to move me forward in life, right? And that was like the tantrum part of my brain. That was just like, this work is hard, being an undergraduate student, trying to study for your LSAT, being part of research projects, I'm the editor-in-chief of, this is hard work, I don't want to do it, right? That's the tantrum part of my brain. She threw a fit. But I could acknowledge that she was a baby, that she was just throwing a tantrum, that she was impulsive. And so shutting her down was relatively easy. Like knocking the wind out of her sails was relatively easy. What was much more difficult was a smaller, quieter, more rational and insidious voice that said something along the lines of, Prachi, you've worked so hard this month. This was such a difficult month for you. Think of where you started and where you are now. You put so much time and energy and effort into rebuilding your academic career, into turning in all of your papers and proposals, into cleaning up all of your old messes, into making sure that you met all of your extracurricular activities requirements and you didn't let anybody down. You worked so hard, Prachi. Do you know what you deserve? You deserve to buy that beautiful thing that you want as a treat for yourself because you have worked hard and you deserve it. And that voice is much harder to shut down because February was a really difficult month. February was really paradoxical. It was like the desire to shop was so intense because I was doing so much difficult emotional and intellectual work, and at the same time, the load put on me by that difficult emotional and intellectual work meant that that desire had no practical way in which to be satiated because there wasn't enough time for me to go shopping. Once I kind of reoriented my life and I started creating a schedule where I had properly allocated enough time for my academic responsibilities, my work responsibilities, and then all of my extracurriculars that are still academically related, I came to realize that I don't really have very much free time at all. And because I had made the commitment to create this YouTube channel to document my no-buy, and I wanted to consistently upload every single week, that means time that I would be using recreationally for fun, like my downtime, I would have to put into this YouTube channel. Now, fortunately, I view this as a hobby, so I enjoyed spending my time doing this instead of like other things, but it was really, really time consuming, right? Every spare moment that wasn't already allocated to doing like academic work or extracurricular work or work was spent trying to figure out this YouTube channel. Because here's the thing. When I started this YouTube channel, I had no idea what the hell I was doing, right? Like this was me going impulsively really out on a limb. I didn't have any of the appropriate tools with which to record a video. I still don't have a tripod. My camera is still on a weird stack of boxes right now. I didn't have any video editing software. I just got whatever the cheapest free one was and then taught myself how to use it. I did not know what I was doing this entire experience. Amazingly, what I have found is that process has had ripple effects on my actual no-buy. Because one of the side effects of being a total noob who's like incompetent and doesn't know what she's doing and is just learning as she goes along is that I made a billion mistakes. In the paltry 3 videos that I have put out before this one, I have made a million errors. In terms of editing, like in my very first video, there was like a weird transition that I just couldn't fix. On my most recent video on how to do makeup on a commute, there is a 15-second clip when I'm like putting on my primer where the audio is horrible. For some reason, I don't know why, it gets really soft and then really loud before becoming normal again. I tried my hardest to fix it in post-production, and I couldn't. And then I ran out of time. I had to, for the sake of my papers, my academics, etc., just leave that video as is. I had to publish that video with that weird audio error, even though that audio error was driving me insane. Even though that's totally not up to my own standards, because I had committed to getting a video out every single Saturday. And if I was going to meet all of those commitments, I was going to have to let that video and those videos before it go up on my channel, even though they weren't perfect. And that is something that I have historically never been able to do, right? I am such a perfectionist to the point where it's almost toxic. Like I have to have things be flawless before I'm willing to present them to anybody else in this world. I am a person who, if I don't think a thing is perfect, I just won't turn it in. Or I would rather turn in something late and have it be perfect or up to standard than have it be on time and subpar. And as I've been rebuilding my life throughout the month of February, one of the things that I'm committed to is like trying to be more timely and trying to let go of perfectionism. That's really what is at the core of this makeup no buy, right? Is that I'm constantly looking for the perfect thing, the perfect red lip, the perfect eyeshadow, the perfect whatever. Because I don't think that the one I have is perfect, I'm constantly seeking for it elsewhere because I'm hoping that the acquisition of those perfect, beautiful things will somehow make me perfect. And so I put myself on a no buy in large part because I want it to loosen my grip on perfectionism, right? I want to not have the ideal makeup or beauty product or whatever and learn to be okay with that. And I thought I was only going to learn that through the actual no buy itself. I didn't think this YouTube channel would also function as a way in which to teach me that. And it has. I would argue probably more so than the actual no buy itself, right? Because I have put out into the world for like 20 people to see a thing that I am not satisfied with as being perfect. But I valued my word and my commitment to them that I would upload something every Saturday without fail over my own internal crisis of perfection. And I've never really done that before. I have always valued more highly my own internal compulsion for perfection than I have other people's deadlines. Oh, that's a horrible thing to admit, but it's true. And so in that sense, February has been a very dramatic month for me. Like it's been, where's that like clip of Kylie Jenner where she's like, oh, this is the year of realizing things.
Like the year of just realizing stuff.
That's basically been my February. Like February has been my month of realizing things. And I know you're like probably like, oh my God, Prachi, like it's just makeup. But I think one of the biggest realizations I've sort of had over this past month is that it really isn't just about makeup. Like the no buy and this YouTube channel are basically microcosms of my entire life, right? The way in which I behave around these two things is an allegory for the way in which I behave around the rest of my life. And as such, I'm finding it's kind of having a ripple effect. And I've been having lots of epiphanies about how I handle things outside of shopping, right? Things that are much bigger and broader and kind of linked to like my life and my goals and my academics and stuff. I am sorry that this video is sort of all over the place and kind of incoherent and rambling, and I have lost all daylight because that's how long I've been sitting here. I also chose to film at around sunset because that was the only free time in my schedule, so that was my bad. This video is kind of chaotic and very emotional and not super focused on makeup and beauty, and that's kind of in line with my February, if I'm gonna be honest. Like, my February was chaotic and super emotional, and as a result of that, I didn't actually have a lot of time to be thinking about makeup and beauty. And that to me is really hopeful because that's what I want out of this, right? At the end of my no buy year, I hope to have what is sort of a normal relationship with makeup, not one that is obsessive and so focused on acquisition, but one that's instead about enjoying all of the things that I already have and allowing makeup to just be a part of my routine that brings me joy and peace of mind and beauty. And so the fact that at the end of my very first, it's not even been one full month that I've recommitted to the no-buy, that I'm beginning to sort of feel that distance, that loss of obsessiveness, that's hopeful. The fact that I have spent the vast majority of this month's time and energy on things other than beauty, that I have spent time learning how to like edit videos and create content instead of just consuming things in this world, that feels good. So that's where we are in February. I'm very, very stressed out. I don't know how I survived from the start of 2019 to now, but looking forward, I'm hopeful. Yeah. I really did not realize that until I was talking to the camera just now, that the contrast between the start of February and the end of February, that's night and day for me. And every single person that's been watching my shakily put together videos over the last 3.5 weeks, you've been a part of that. So thank you. I'm gonna wrap up now. That's everything from me on this front. As always, I say as if I've been uploading videos for 4 or 5 years and have a signature. I hope that you have a really great week. And even if your week ends up being messy and imperfect, I still hope that you're able to create and experience some truly beautiful moments. Bye.
But you gotta be there for me too.